Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Hey, welcome to this episode of the Note Closure Show. As always, Scott Carstie, excited to be here with today. I know as we sit here, it's like the Monday before Thanksgiving, and a lot of people are off this week. I know that schools are out, and that's great. It's kind of a lighter week for a lot of cases. We have some bids that are due that we'll be submitting in tomorrow. If you're part of our WCN crew and took a look at the 280 or the 278 notes that we kind of went through last week on Note 9 America, your bids were due by Friday, and I actually have to submit them by tomorrow. So I'll be adding them on there and combining the list. It makes it a little challenging today with Microsoft Outlook being down, but we'll work through it. But I wanted to go through the right way to make offers. And I'm not going to talk about the math behind it. I'm literally talking about how do you submit an offering. It's actually very, very simple. A lot of people will overthink this. It's not difficult at all. And it comes down to you have to think about the person that's putting the bids together. Now, if you're buying just a one-off note from Jim, Bob, Joe, okay, and you're just back and forth via Facebook or email, and it's only one note, telling them what you're going to bid for the note is completely fine. There's no issues with that. Just sending in an email back and forth. Now, when you're sending in bids to somebody like me, who's putting bids together on behalf of our coaching students and adding my own bids, you want to make it simple for that person to understand what you're doing, especially if you're making more than one bid. First and foremost, when you have your spreadsheet, delete off everything else that's on it besides the assets you're going to be making offers on. Okay? So make it very simple that spreadsheet that you send only has the assets you want to. And what you want to do is not make it difficult for me to go find what you're bidding on it. Usually most spreadsheets, most tapes from banks will have on the very first tab, column A will be a loan number. And there may be a servicing loan number. The first two columns may be loan numbers that are different. That's okay. The address will probably is going to be close to the front there, it's going to be the back. What I want you to do, what you have to get in the habit of doing, is eliminating everything else on that spreadsheet except the rows that you want to bid on. And then what you want to do is insert a column with your bids and label the spreadsheet that you send your bid. So like if Peter is sending in his bids and he's bidding on 20 assets, well, there should only be 20 assets, 20 rows. The loan number is going to be column 2. The first column should be what he's going to bid for in specific numbers. You may want to label it Peter's bids. That's one important thing to do, is understand that if I'm putting multiple spreadsheets together, if you send me the spreadsheet with the same name as everybody else, it may be a little difficult to find. So you want to try to dumb it down. I hate to say this because I'm a pretty bright guy, but just not for me. So if you're sending it into a hedge fund and they're taking offers, you want to make it as crystal clear that your offer. So like when I send it in, it would be like WCN or Scott Carson's bids, 278 NPNs, 11/25/24, the date. Okay. And it's just going to be the 10 or 15 or 50 assets. Now, here's the thing. If you're making an offer on like 50 assets too in a big tape, you may not want to delete everything. I've had sellers come back and say, oh, please leave the tape as it is, because what they want to do is make it simple for them just to copy paste over your bids, not have to go hunt and peck. And they may be using your tape as the master one that they have the assets in. So if you got 50 offers, just go ahead at that point, send them the whole tape, but your number, you're only on there. If it's a smaller tape, if you're making offers 5 or 10, just leave those 5 or 10 bids with your column on there. You may want to eliminate some of these things where it's the loan number, your bids, the loan numbers, and then maybe the address immediately. I know that in some cases the spreadsheet has a lot of information, and the address is far to the right. So you may want to move that over or copy paste it over to it. What you do not want to do, and I have people that do this all the time, is they insert the spreadsheet, the whole spreadsheet line, all 40 columns, into an email. Do not do that. Attach it. If you insert the whole spreadsheet, that one bid or 2 bids or 10 bids, into the actual email, it's going to make it so small to read that I can't see things. And you want to make it easy for people, not difficult. Okay. But like I said, if you're only making one offer, put the loan number, the address, and the amount you're bidding. Keep it simple, make it easy to do that, and then send that into the person. Say, hey, and then what I always like to ask is, hey, Can you confirm receipt? Please confirm receipt of these bids. Like somebody said, oh, I sent it in on Friday. I'm like, I didn't see anything on Friday. I got bogged down with things. So essentially, it's an important thing to do. So that's why I want to make sure and touch briefly on this. You don't usually need proof of funds submitted in. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes sellers, if you're going to buy my note, I may ask for proof of funds. If I'm bidding through to an asset manager, if you're brand new, I may ask for proof of funds. Especially come back and make 50 offers. I mean, if I don't know you, I'm like, well, do you have the proof of funds to make this happen? Are you buying for your own portfolio? Now, if I find out that you're like brokering deals, I'm not, like you get out and say, oh, hey, I got a tape of 278 to bid on. Well, that's you brokering the tape. And that's not what I want. I want you bidding for your own assets, bidding for your own portfolio. Now, I get posting a picture of a property. Hey, I'm bidding on this offer, or I'm reviewing this tape with this offer here, trying to raise capital. That's a different story. What I don't want you to do is go blast and say, I'm accepting bids. Like, that's not going to fly. I'll give you an example. David Polio from Essence Servicing gave me a phone call one day, and it was actually on a Saturday, Sunday, so I was very surprised because he never usually calls on the weekend. And what he had gotten is he found out that some guy had posted a tape and then said that it was on my website. I'm like, on my website? I'm like, I don't have tape. I don't let people post tapes on my website. So the guy, he gave me the name. I was like, oh, when David told me the name, I was like, oh, no, that's not my website. That guy went into a Facebook group, the Note Nation Facebook group, and mentioned that, hey, I got 15 notes that I own that I'm selling. Well, this guy didn't actually own the notes. He was trying to broker a tape from Polio. And I said, well, this guy is not one of my students. He's just in the Facebook group. It's not on my website. It's in the actual Facebook group. And Dave's like, oh, that makes sense. So I went in there and deleted it off and then mentioned the guy, said, don't post things in here if you don't have the right to it. Because that's what's going to happen. I got a pretty well-known name in the business. If you drop my name, that person's probably going to call me. I'll give you another example. I don't understand why this guy did this, but a couple years ago, this one guy wanted to make some offers and some stuff in Detroit. And it wasn't through me. It was through somebody else he found. And the guy he's a realtor out in California. And the guy made offers, but he made them under my LLC name. I know. He made it under WeCloseNotes.com. Guy's not a part of my entity. It never has been. Well, what happened? Well, when somebody gets an offering from an entity, they're going to make sure that you have the right to make offers on behalf of that entity. So what happened? I get an email from the hedge fund manager saying, hey, this guy made a bunch of offers under your LLC name on all these properties in like Detroit and Ohio. I was like, well, first of all, that guy is not a part of any of my LLCs. He's a previous student, not a coaching student, just a previous attendee of a class. So I don't know if he's got anything or not. So I called the guy and I said, hey, man. He was like, hey. I go, what's going on with these bids? He goes, oh, he got real kind of quiet. And I said, you just committed fraud. He goes, what are you talking about? I said, you submitted bids on behalf of an LLC you're not a part of. That's pure fraud. Okay. You should not do that. I go, why the hell did you use my LLC? So, well, I didn't have the credibility. So I wanted to use your credibility. I said, it doesn't work that way. That's still fraud. You just now got a black eye by the hedge fund because they don't trust you because you're just not honest. You have an LLC, yeah? I said, why just not use your own LLC? Well, I'm experienced. That's okay. If you don't have experience, tell them that. Hey, I don't have as much experience, but I am interested in buying these notes from you. I said, you've got 24 hours to go and cancel those bids. I mean, actually, you don't have 24 hours. You got like 2 hours to call the company up and fix this. All right, and get it out of my name. Don't ever do that again, or some people, and unfortunately, some people are just dumb stupid. I mean, common sense is not common, unfortunately. Another thing that's important when bidding on tapes and assets is making sure you're dealing. Like, I'll give you an example. Like that 278, I do not own it. It's from a fund that we've bought from. They sent out to me. I make that disclosure. Okay. And I have it direct from a seller. They reached out to me. And one of my coaches is like, oh, it's so and so. I'm like, yep, sure is. If you're a one-on-one coaching student, you don't have to make an offer directly through me. You can go direct because you're a one-on-one coaching student. We'll make the introduction for you. But what's happened is that some people made offers, not through me on this one, but on a previous thing. Some people made offers to a hedge fund. And if you're dealing with somebody who works for a hedge fund or a bank or a lender, they're only going to be selling notes for that specific entity. Okay. They are not going to be brokering deals on the down low or from somebody else. Okay. So a couple of years ago, There was a fund out of California, not out of California, out of Florida, and the guy wrote a book. Actually, a book on note investing a few years back. We had him on the podcast before. We actually bought quite a few notes from him a few years back because we were buying a lot of stuff down in Florida. God's waiting room. Well, lo and behold, I get a phone call from a guy asking, "Hey, I bought this note up in Garland, Texas. Do you have somebody up there that I could talk to, maybe to drive by it?" I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I know this guy, Wayne. Wayne has some rentals in Garland. He's also a note investor. He's also one of coach student. Give Wayne a phone call." So Steve calls Wayne, and guess what? Steve's calling about a property on a note or a note on a property that actually Wayne owns, and Wayne bought the note like 3 months earlier. Yeah. So Steve calls me all scared about it. And it's like, wait a second. I was like, no, hang on a second. Let's just call the fund directly. So we called the fund manager who owned the company, said, "Hey, what's going on here? So and so bought this from you, and now this other guy that works for you is out trying to pawn this deal off." Well, it turns out that the guy that was working for the guy that wrote the book, the agent, I guess you could say, the agent for the fund, was trying to sell off a portfolio that he didn't own and was trying to commit fraud. He got about 12 investors to wire him money on buying assets he didn't own. Okay. And the way he did it is he told all these investors, these note buyers, like, "Listen, hey, I know you're bidding on these, but I got a portfolio that's off the books. I got a portfolio of my own that I'm looking to broker or trade." And the guy was able to collect about $1 million in private capital. Well, the guy, once people started calling, the guy, took off, left his wife, left his kids. His wife divorced him. He went to, I don't know where, Puerto Rico, South Florida, something like that, but left and took off with the money. And the fund guy, the fund manager, he sat there left like, So what he did is he made it up by selling assets off his own tapes at a discount to him. But he could have faced some serious litigation if he hadn't tried to work with the investors who bought those notes fraudulently. So that's why check to see who. That's why getting the assignment of mortgage and double checking it and pulling due diligence, and making sure that you're buying from the seller. I don't have opposed if somebody's brokering, but tell me you're brokering it, and then put me in direct touch with the seller. That's one of the most important things I can tell you. Is try to be as direct as possible. Now, there are funds out of Wall Street, there are funds out of Florida, New York, California that I buy directly through a bank, but I've been buying from them for years. I have a trustworthy relationship with them. I know that I've signed fee agreements with them, and I know that they're going to represent their company, not somebody else. That's the big thing. If you start dealing with somebody and they start telling you, "Oh, I got to tape off the books," that you still have to go through me, be careful about that. And that's why it's always so important to look at your spreadsheets that you're getting in from people. Look at when those spreadsheets were created. Who's the creator of them by looking at the info on Excel. If you have an older version of Excel, update it. You can see all sorts of information. If it's contract for deeds that you're looking at, you can actually go to the county records and see who the lender is, or the owner of the contract for deed, because at the county, the deeds it gets updated, not an assignment of mortgage. So that's one thing to see, okay, who bought what and who still owns it. And if it's somebody else, that's why you always double check to make sure the assignments are notarized and you've got a trail that matches up with a date on the assignments. So if it's been sold 3 times, you should have 3 assignments, 3 allonges, and hopefully 2 out of the 3 are recorded, or all 3 are recorded, and then you only got to record your new one. So that's the important thing. When you're making, like I said, making an offer is pretty simple. It's not anything difficult. It's different on residential notes. If it's on a commercial note from a bank, they're going to want you to, fill out a true letter of intent, which is like a 2-page offer, talking about what you're paying, what you need due diligence, time frame. It's a little bit more professional. But on residential notes, you're dealing with hedge funds. Usually, if they send a spreadsheet, they just want you to send back their bids on that spreadsheet, or a trimmed down version of that spreadsheet, and label your spreadsheet, name it your company or your bids, and date it. So it makes it very simple. Like I said, recap: do not insert 40 columns for one bid. Attach it, even if it's one asset, attach it, send an email, ask for a confirmation receipt so that your bids are accepted, or that your bids are received, and then going from there. If you get people asking for proof of funds or letter of intent before you ever make an offer, run. Those guys are joker brokers. Don't waste your time. But like the tape that we have, I know we've had 3 or 4 people there submitting bids. A few people we gave it an extra couple days to, because they're coaching students. And then, so I'll be going through and consolidating those bids in one spreadsheet and sending it in to the hedge fund for them to review. And I've got to get those bids in by tomorrow to them. And then we'll find out after Thanksgiving what's accepted or countered, and then we'll dive into the due diligence process going forth from there. Okay. Any questions, comments, concerns? Like I said, it's kind of a slower week for the most part, but it is getting into a busier season as more funds and banks are looking probably to move stuff off their portfolio in the next 4 weeks, because we're literally, if you look at it, we're 30 days we're 1 month out from Christmas right now as we record this. So there's literally like 5 weeks left in the year. All right, 5 weeks left in the year. If you haven't reached out to bankers and asset managers in a while, now would be the time to drop an email and have that email not go out this week. Don't send any email out this week to asset managers, but make sure it goes out Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday of next week to asset managers and banks to get that ball rock and rolling. Hey, Peter, good to see you, buddy. I hope you have a very Merry Thanksgiving down in Viva La Miami. As always, guys, we will be running a Black Friday special for our upcoming boot camp on Valentine's Day, 14th through the 16th. That's February 14th through 16th. Normal price is $14.99. We'll be running a discount on Black Friday. If you're a WCN crew member, take advantage of the discount that's in the base camp group for you. It's the cheapest it's going to be for that, and it's good for you plus the spouse or partner to come as well. So, all right, guys, if there's no other questions, comments, concerns, once again, submit your spreadsheets, attach them, don't insert, clean up the spreadsheet, put your bids in the very first column, someplace that people don't have to hunt and peck for them, and make it simple as easy so people understand your bids. You know, slice like a ninja, cut like a razor blade. Trim that tape up so that you're only sending over the bids that you are important. Unless you're submitting a huge tape, then you probably want to insert everything, or filter the tape to just show your bids. And then let the seller know, hey, I filtered it by my bids. If you go into column A and unfiltered by my offers, you should be able to have the whole tape there for you. So anyway, I hope that works out well for you guys. Have a great holiday, and we'll see you back in December.